Man, we got a fun one today. We just had a nightmare of a real estate story, and we're going to share it with you today. Stay tuned.
You better get fired up.
Guys, happy Friday. Good to see you. We're here every single Friday at 11 o'clock. Usually we're answering your questions, but today we've actually had a nightmare of a real estate story. And I thought there was a lot of value in sharing it with you guys, right? There's a lot of little nuggets, a lot of little lessons that if you can pick up on these, it'll help you in your journey as a buyer and or a seller. So today I've got Shannon Pohl here today with Union Home Mortgage. She is the best, unquestionably the best mortgage lender. You're about to find out why on the Treasure Coast. Shannon, I really appreciate you joining me today.
Hey, thanks, Joe. It's always a pleasure. We've had some fun ones lately.
Yeah. So one of the reasons as a realtor that I want to build a relationship with a lender, in fact, I would say it's probably the biggest reason, is you want to find someone who's local. Local is a big deal. And you also want to find someone who can problem solve, right? And it's really challenging to problem solve unless you've got a wealth of experience, which Shannon has. So knowing the different products, knowing what your options are, knowing how to push through aggressively to get it done, not just for the buyer, but by getting it done for the buyer, you're getting it done for the seller too. So you're really helping out two different sides here, right? So I'm going to share just a little bit about some of the problems I had in a recent transaction. And then Shannon, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can talk a little bit about the magic that you performed in the background, because I really want you to look good. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. You did such a phenomenal job. I want you to be able to brag a little bit, man. So I had a seller and we were selling his house and we got a wonderful buyer. It was a single guy. And he came in with a wonderful offer. Buyer was happy, seller was happy, everybody's happy. And we had a lender on it. Lender called me the first day. Everything looked good. I got a pre-approval letter, right? That's what everybody wants. They think it's gold. It's not gold. It's as good as the lender is. And I verified a whole bunch of things. Everything seemed to check out. Looks good. Let's drive forward. It was about 25 days into a 30-day close. So we're about, what's that, 2/3, maybe 70-80% of the way there. And I get a phone call. And the phone call's from the lender. And he says, we've got some problems, but I'm working on them. Shouldn't be a problem. We'll be good. And I said, what are the problems? Well, I can't disclose them, but I can tell you we should have an answer here within the next 24 hours. I got that story for several days, right? But eventually there's a deadline in a contract where you've got to have loan commitment, which means you're going to lose your escrow deposit if you don't tell me that we're declined or you get an extension. So that day he calls me at the last minute and he says, I just got to tell you, this one isn't going to work out. I'm walking from the deal, which sounded really weird. No lender's ever said I'm walking from the deal. Does that mean the buyer's still in it? Like, what's going on? And it's just not going to work out. Sorry, maybe next time, Joe. Click. And that was it. And I was like, what is going on with this? So I instantly called the other agent and I said, what just happened? He didn't even know the lender had made that call. The lender hadn't been communicating with him either. In fact, every communication I'd had with that lender was me reaching out to the lender. They never proactively reached out to me. And I want to throw a quick pitch out for Shannon here. Shannon updates me so often. She over communicates. I barely have to reach out because I always know what's going on with Shannon, right? It feels awesome. It feels awesome for the clients. It feels awesome for the agents. And it makes everybody want to work with someone like Shannon again. So I called the other agent. I said, what's going on? And he said, well, we've got some issues and we've got to start working on these issues, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out with this lender. And I said, man, I tell you what, if we're going to keep moving forward, which it sounds like you want to do, we're going to need another lender. He said, yep, I've got another lender. It's my favorite lender. We're going to work with him. And I said, I can appreciate that, but we tried your lender. Your lender didn't work. I don't want to go to your number 2 lender. I'd prefer to go to my lender. And if we're going to keep moving forward, I want to have disclosure on what some of these challenges are, because that'll let me know what our odds of closing are. And he said, sounds good. His buyer was cool. He was cool. Everybody was cool. I got with Shannon and we started looking into this other lender, and they had sold 2 homes or closed on 2 homes in the last year. That's a challenge, man, right? Lenders, experienced lenders are closing on a lot more homes than 2 a year. When you've only done 2 a year, there's a lot of little hiccups, a lot of little issues, a lot of little challenges you've never been exposed to. So when you hit those, the odds of you getting through them are very low, right? And I know everybody starts somewhere, but you ain't starting from somewhere with me. You can go do that with another agent. I want a pro. I want a stud. So
Well,
I've
especially if
got
you're
to go ahead.
I mean, especially if you're in the contract over 30 days and you're going to give it a second chance. And the
Exactly.
best part is when you referred it to me, you just wanted me to take a look at it. Nobody was forcing anybody to
No,
use me. It
no,
was
no,
like,
no, no.
hey, let me have Shannon take a look at it. At least she can vet it, and then we can, see how we're going to go forward. And that was nice because there was no pressure to anybody.
Yeah. Yep. And so the guy ended up, I was in a three-way, it was either a text or an email, and I rarely get involved in three ways with another person's client, but I could see the intent. The intent was disclosure. We want to be transparent. And the buyer said, hey, I just want to let you and your seller know I'm going to work with Shannon. I want everybody to feel comfortable. I like Shannon. I had a great conversation with her. I don't know exactly what the solution is going to be, but Shannon sounds pretty good. And he allowed Shannon to tell me not everything, but certain things. So I knew enough to know, okay, here's kind of the 30,000-foot view of what's going on. Shannon, do we have some solutions? And she said, I've got a solution for this. I've got a solution for this. I still got to call this person and do this, but I think we can do it. And then we got to get this plan. But she had it down. And just hearing her, I didn't necessarily know everything she was talking about, but I knew the confidence she had, instilled confidence in us. So Shannon, go ahead, brag away. Tell me a little bit about how you took that on and what you did as an experienced lender that by working with an inexperienced lender as a buyer, you're just not going to get.
Well, it was really eye-opening for me to have the purview of not only saying, "Hey, let's just check out the numbers on the other lender. If they're a stud, I want to make sure that I'm not seeing something that they've met, that's gonna, be in front of us."
Yep.
When we realized that they had closed 2 loans and 2 of them were refis, um, ugh, I knew that there was tremendous opportunity, right? So once, within about an hour, we realized that 30 days in, I thought that we were going to be able to have the appraisal transferred and we would be able to knock this out of the park real quick because everything was done. Literally nothing was done. And
Yeah.
so we had a fresh slate. We were able to work with the CPA to get exactly what we needed. He was self employed, salt of the earth, hardworking man, young daughter, just wanted to provide a home for her. So I had a huge heart for it. But at the same point in time, I had to make sure that you knew that if I said, hey, this is a challenge, I can't 100% guarantee it, but I feel 90% that we can get to the other side.
Yep.
That was what you needed. And so everything down to, not necessarily getting transcripts in, but working with the IRS, working with the CPA, getting a rush appraisal done. And I still think we closed it within about, 8-10 days.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't very long.
The
And
seller
that,
was ready to move on,
oh
and we
yeah.
knew, and it wasn't that you were pushing me, but we all knew that everybody was ready to move it along.
Yep.
So I was pleased that we could move it quickly with the insurmountable challenges.
Yes. I think it's important too, not just to look from the buyer's standpoint, right? A buyer's going to hear this and they're going to say, ooh, maybe I should use a strong local lender. Maybe I should ask how many deals they're closing a year. Maybe I should get the recommendation from a realtor, something like that. But also look at it from the standpoint of a seller. I've had so many offers on my properties, especially when it's a multiple offer situation. And you'll see the rookie agent, or not the rookie agent, the rookie lender with 2 deals in their life. And then you'll see someone like Shannon with loads of experience, years, deals, knowledge. She's local. She's got great reviews online. Without even looking at the offers, my heart already as a listing agent is leaning towards Shannon heavily, right?
Well, and what our team's goal is, I mean, I've been doing this 23 years on the Treasure Coast. And, my goal is that I get word of mouth referrals. I have to see
No.
people at Publix. I don't want to do a bad job. If I don't have the best deal and it's super vanilla, I'm going to tell you that, you're probably safe, but I know that I can get deals done and I want to give the confidence. But, when my buyer has a multiple list or multiple offer situation, I'm going to call that listing agent and say, I'm going to advocate for that buyer. Hey, we've got
Oh.
strong credit. We've been approved in underwriting for income. Approved in underwriting is different than a pre-qualification letter that you get from a lender. Just
No.
because you have a DU approval, that doesn't mean it. But when you tell a listing agent, our assets are approved, our income's approved, and you advocate for that buyer, I think it goes a long way.
So I'm putting you on the spot here. I didn't prepare you for this, but give me maybe your top 3-4 things that a buyer should be asking, looking for, researching, whatever, before selecting their lender.
I think you've got to not only jive personality wise
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and make sure that your communication styles. I like to find out up front, do you prefer to text, do you prefer to talk? Like, let's figure
Yeah.
out the best way for us, because we're a team, and between the realtor, the transaction coordinator, the title company, we just have to work together. So I think that, again, having a local referral is great. Finding out that somebody's been doing the job for a long time and maybe they've been top of the class or president's club at their organization, or focus heavily in purchases, is just a big deal. But realistically, my company, the companies that I've only worked for 2 other companies, but we service our loans. We're here start to finish, even after you close. And so servicing, I think, is a big deal too. um, it's a weird market, and I don't think anybody has time or energy to take chances. And here's the thing. Let's say, Joe, you've got a property that you've had for 6 months and it's not flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
And I've got a borrower that I get pre-qualified, and I say, you know what? This is going to be tough. I'm telling you up front, this is not a slam dunk, but I think we have a path to finish. And, I feel real good about it, but I'm not 100%. At least going in to that deal that you've got realistic expectations that, hey, the house has been on the market. I can take a chance like this. But a house that's been on the market for a week, you can't take a chance like that when you have, the whole world in front of you. You want to know that it's a slam freaking dunk.
Yeah. So while you're saying all this, I'm thinking about things that if I were to guide somebody into asking about, thinking about whatever before selecting a lender, I wanted to add to it. And I'd like to hear your response to these. I got 3, right? So the first one is use a lender who looks at all your documents in depth before they give you a pre-approval. I have had lenders before say, hey, Joe, I just sent your buyer a pre-approval. I really haven't been able to dig into all their stuff, but based on what they told me, they should be just fine. So I'll dig into it later, but here's your pre-approval. Go hunting. And I think, okay, I get your intent. Your intent is I'm trying to help you by getting you the letter you need to go out and look at homes and get an offer in. But you're doing us a disservice because you're giving, even though I as a realtor know what you're doing, the buyers are under the understanding that they're good to go. And there's a small chance that something's going to change, or you're going to look at their docs and say, well, your income's different than what you said. Your debt's income different than what you said. Your credit score is not what you said. And now you're going to set expectations up here and it's going to fall through. So you really want someone who's going to look at your docs. They're going to ask you some questions. Maybe they're going to ask you for a second round of docs, but they've looked at your docs. You want that. The second thing would be Google reviews. Go on and look at their Google reviews. Do they have a bunch of reviews or do they have 3 reviews? If they've got a bunch of reviews and they're all 4.8, 4.9, 5.0, whatever, that is probably a good lender, right? Another one, ask your realtor. Hey, I'm thinking of working with Shannon Pohl. Do you know her? Yeah, she's local. I love her. She's done great. I've done X amount of deals with her, and I really couldn't expect more out of her. Versus, use who you want, but I don't think that'd be my first choice. You're going to get that from a good realtor. They're going to give you a great recommendation. And then the last thing is, will that person be working with you? And you might think, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. When you call a lot of these big companies, you're going to get someone, they're going to take all your paperwork. That person's kind of a frontline processor. They're going to get all your income, all your debt. They're going to send you the letter. And then when you finally go under contract, all of a sudden you're going with this other guy. And sometimes that other guy is really tough to get on the phone. So working with someone like Shannon's pretty much who you're dealing with the whole time. Not that she doesn't have help behind the scenes, but you've got Shannon. Shannon's the front row person. And as a realtor, I want to know that. I just have one. Shannon, I think I think it was with you. I can't remember who it was now, but I think it was with you. We called, I know who it was now. We called the lender, and the lender, he said, he's out of town right now, but he's not the lender anyway. I'm the lender. And I said, well, on the paperwork, it had his name. Yeah, no, he's not the real lender. I'm the real lender. And I instantly thought, red flag. We've got multiple chefs in the kitchen. This is going to be a problem, right? And he's calling it out. That's kind of weird. So I said to the buyer, listen, the only way we're going to work with this buyer is if you move over to a stronger local lender. Here's Shannon's number. If you call her and work with her, we're happy to strongly consider your offer. And my sellers agreed. They said, man, that's a lot of red flags, and we haven't even looked at the numbers, the terms, anything yet. So it's so important to present yourself well. And I know buyers don't understand how big of a deal the lender you use is. They think, what terms am I getting? What rates am I getting? And yes, that's important.
And everybody can make sexy rates. And then you don't know how many points you're paying in the background. Everything. I mean, the margins are the margins, guys. So if you get a too good to be true rate, it probably is, or you're paying a lot of, points to get it. But I say that to say, this is just even experienced lenders. The market is different today. So the things that didn't necessarily get caught or weren't a big deal 2 or 3 years ago, such as variable income, people that, aren't on salary, they work 40 hours a week, but last week, I had to take my daughter to the dentist and then I did this. So it was only 38 hours on the pay stub. That's a real challenge in today's market that if you don't have somebody that can problem solve, I say my job, I'm a loan officer, sure, but my real job is to strategize and be 6 steps ahead so that when and if this comes up, I have a workaround.
So I'm going to ask you a question. I know what I tell buyers, and I'll share it second, but I want to hear what you tell buyers. Shannon, I'm going to buy in a year. When should I reach out to you?
We really need to start working on it now. And the reason I say that is because if you're self-employed, you're going to file another tax return before that happens. If you've got credit challenges, in the past 6 months, student loans just started piling on to credit reports, and people with 720 credit scores went down. I had one client go down to 480. Perfect. Pilot, perfect credit, went down to, terrible stuff. So you can't be too prepared, especially if you think you're vanilla. I can tell you you're vanilla and then you skate through 12 months. But if you're not, or if we've got things to just make sure we plan for, we need to plan for it so that we have a little bit of leeway, or we can get a little creative beforehand.
Yep. And one thing too, I want to brag about you a little bit more, is Shannon is so phenomenal with numbers, and she understands her program so good, right? So she might say, hey, let's work with this. And then all of a sudden she sees something in your file and she's like, oh, I didn't see this. Now that I can see this paperwork you submitted, I really think this program might work better because of this and this and this, right? A lot of lenders, I can tell you from experience, they don't know their products well enough, or they don't have enough experience, or they haven't dug in enough where they're going to know that stuff and be able to give those strong recommendations. I just can't say enough about a strongly recommended local lender. That's the last thing I want to talk about. Local. Why is it important that a buyer goes with a local agent instead of a non-local agent, in your opinion?
Loan agent or even a realtor anymore?
Yeah, a lender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, so my partner Lucy and I have been doing this together for the last 23 years. We have an appraisal panel. Appraisers make or break a lot of things, and knowing that you've got good appraisers, communicative appraisers, I think that's huge. But also knowing intricacies of, hey, there's a survey fee and the house is 2 years old. Hey, title company, can we see if we can get the sellers, because they just closed 2 years ago,
Yes.
and reinsert it and save $650.
Yep.
And working with local title companies to understand, hey, this fee should be over here because you've got to close in the same county, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, the local relationships, I constantly say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that reigns true every day.
Yeah. Well, listen, I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. I just thought that was such a cool story. There was so many golden nuggets in there for people.
And
Shannon,
he is so happy to be a homeowner. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I actually just talked to him yesterday. You're right. He is 100% happy. Let me ask you, if people want to reach out to you, what contact information are you willing to give out?
Yeah, call or text me. I give out my direct cell phone, 772-360-6030. And you can apply online or inquire at shannonpohl, POHL.com.
Beautiful. Well, guys, again, if you trust me at all, I'm telling you, Shannon is the one that you want to meet with. Get with her early. She can help you through a lot of different issues that you might have if you wait until a month or two beforehand. And she's going to rock your socks off, man. She is a hard worker, hard charger. I just can't say enough good things about you, man. We love you over here. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys, with that, have a wonderful Friday and an even better weekend. Take care.